Am I the a-hole, forcing my husband to choose between divorce and being a house husband while I work full-time to support the family? Long story short, my husband, 37M, used to work to support the family while I, 36F, stayed home taking care of our 2-year-old daughter. Last month, he lost his job and told me he felt exhausted and wasn't eager to do anything. I said okay and offered to work so he could look after our daughter at home and get some rest until he feels better. By the way, our daughter goes to daycare, so it's mainly some housework and picking her up. But he said no, he needs his time to be completely free. I got furious, because this means either I work while also taking care of our daughter, or our family will face significant financial pressure. But I stepped back anyway and had a hell of a month doing everything while he hung out with his friends and played PS5. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore and told him he had to choose between being a house husband or divorce. He chose the first, but it felt forced. I keep questioning myself, was I too harsh? Any good advice would be appreciated. Update: I never thought this would draw so much attention. I'm trying to read as many comments as I can, and I really appreciate your opinions, especially those pointing out things I should have told him and I didn't. I've decided to show him the post after work and see if we can have a real talk based on that. Again, thank you all. TLDR, I told my husband to choose between divorce and being a house husband. Am I the a-hole? Comments. Commenter 1, not the a-hole. Adults with children don't get to have their time complete free. Commenter 2, this, not the a-hole. It's one thing to not jump back in a job, it's another to ignore your family completely. OP, your husband can spend some time your daughter is in daycare to seek out therapy as well. Commenter 3, not the a-hole. You were very reasonable. Bluntly, you don't get to rest the way he is when you have a kid. You have to take care of said child. OP, you have a point, I didn't get any rest. Commenter 4, actually you had to take care of 2 children, just one was quite a bit larger. Update, so, I got off work, picked up my daughter, and showed my husband the post after she fell asleep. I told him that millions had seen it and made various points. I admitted that my ultimatum was an impulsive reaction and that I preferred having a calm discussion to work through this. He said he was surprised I shared family matters on Reddit and that he wouldn't have done it. He said he wasn't feeling depressed, just tired and exhausted after years of working, and he just wanted to be childish for a bit and really enjoyed the month off. I kind of understood, because we used to travel a lot before our daughter was born, and life has been harder since then. I told him I wouldn't force him to work and that he could take his time as long as he could pick up our daughter and do the housework. He hesitated but told me not to worry. I thought this was the end of it. Then, the next day, I came home from work to find his mother there. I was shocked, because he hadn't told me anything. She started picking up our daughter and doing the housework. This is driving me crazy, because I have never gotten along with her well, and my husband knows this. I feel like he asked her to come so he could continue being childish, disregarding how I feel. His mother raised him as a single mom, and according to my husband, she was very protective and planned to live with him for his whole life. He felt suffocated, so he went to a university far from home and reduced contact with her. I remember one time she came and got sick, vomited, and I cleaned up her mess. Suddenly, she asked her son to come and told him that her underwear was dirty and needed to be washed by hand that very night, even though we had a washing machine. My husband and I had agreed that our marriage was ours and that she wouldn't come and live with us. He broke his promise. I'm considering divorce, but I'm worried our daughter is too young to understand it. I've thought about holding on for a while, but these days of living with her are already driving me crazy, and I don't see a quick end. I've thought about being an AH and forcing her to leave, but that might lead to divorce. I really need some advice. Thank you all. TLDR, I, 36F, showed my husband, 37M, the last post, and we had a talk. Then, without asking me, he invited my mother-in-law to come, even though he knows I've never gotten along well with her. Comments. Commenter 1. The best news is that your daughter is so young that once you get through the transition, she will just grow up with you two being divorced. My bio parents divorced when I was 2. I have no memories of them ever being together. OP, this helps me a lot, thank you for your words. Commenter 2. It's far better for your daughter that you get her out of that unhealthy dynamic. I stayed in my nightmare marriage for the sake of my daughter, and sticking around for the crazy did more damage than taking her and getting the hell out would have. She's grown up now, and is in therapy. She's also gone NC with her father. Please don't make my mistake. Commenter 3. And if you stay, you will teach your daughter to also choose a man who mistreats her. Imagine your daughter married to a man just like her dad with a mother-in-law just like yours, and then make your decision. I would hate myself if this scenario really happens. You have a point. Thank you. Commenter 4. It happens so easily and subconsciously. All of my ex-boyfriends are exactly like my dad, but my husband is exactly like my stepdad. I emulated the toxic relationship my parents had without realizing it, and then when my mom showed me a good husband and father and a healthy relationship, again without trying or realizing it, I found it for myself. Once I saw her in a good marriage, it was jarring when someone was showing red flags because it wasn't normal to me, but before, all I knew was toxicity, so the red flags didn't look so red, they were what I was used to. Good point. I'm starting to worry about that my daughter would estimate it unconsciously. Op's husband responds to the post. I found out my wife posted about our situation on Reddit, so I thought I should share my side too. I lost my job in May and wanted some free time because life after having a baby feels suffocating. I've always been a free spirit, working and traveling, and then I met my wife, Jay. This lifestyle continued, and we traveled a lot, from Tibet to Antarctica. I was a seller, and she had a great business selling replica bags, making enough for us to enjoy our lives. We hit it off, got married, and had a great time together. We even considered being child-free and consulted an older couple on an Antarctic cruise, whose happiness convinced me this could be our future. The thing is, my mom really wanted a grandchild. At the time, I didn't think much of it and felt it wasn't a big deal, so I discussed it with my wife, and we decided to go ahead. Her pregnancy was tough. She had severe morning sickness, and I felt really sorry for her. After the baby was born, she wanted to focus on the baby, and I agreed to hold the family burden alone. Life then became all about work, with no more traveling or other interesting stuff. So last month, I had enough. No more working, no more baby duties, and we agreed to give me a trial break. The past month was quite healing until one day she got mad and suddenly gave me an ultimatum of divorce. I didn't want a divorce, so I started doing housework, which I wasn't prepared for. Then last week, my wife came home and asked me to talk, showing me her post about us in this sub. She said millions of people had read it and called me an immature I was pretty upset and asked my mother to help with the housework so my wife would be relieved and, to be honest, to call her bluff. She's not happy, of course, and neither am I. We've barely talked since then, kind of a cold fight. These days, I've caught her several times watching her phone for a long time and sometimes crying. I believe she posted about us again, and I've been waiting for her to talk even though I wanted to start the conversation but got cold feet feeling the tension in the family. Writing this is easier, so here I am, Reddit. This is my first and last post about it. I just want to share my side of the story. And Jay, if you see this, I'm ready to talk anytime. Comments. Commenter 1, you're the ass, but if you ever figure out how to quit your job, travel the world, and be a responsible parent, please let the rest of us know. Husband responds, I didn't see this, I might have crossed a little bit. Commenter 2, you're the ass. I read your wife's post earlier today. After you stopped working, you both sat down and she agreed to you taking a month off. No housekeeping, no baby duties. She did all of that on top of working full-time. At the end of that time, you are still not ready to go back to work, but she can't do it all and keep carrying that load, so she asks you to be a stay-at-home dad. Kid goes to daycare, and take care of some of the household stuff. You say no. She's exhausted. Remember, she has carried your baby for 9 months and is now back at work full-time, plus taking in all household and family responsibilities. I believe you are playing games online and hanging with friends. Now you claim you brought your mom, whom you've both been very low contact with, into the home, to do all the daycare and household chores, and you wonder why she is upset. Seriously? Get off, you ass, and step up to the plate. Being home and caring for a child plus household tasks is still work, but it's not deadlines and traffic jams. She's asking you to step up for her like she did for you. If you can't see that and still think she needs to learn a lesson, your marriage is over. If you came here thinking we'd back you like you did her, you are mistaken. You really need to go for a long walk and consider this from an emotionally mature perspective. You are so far off track, you're about to walk off a cliff and can't see it. Commenter 3, a bit? You jumped over state lines with your selfishness, laziness, and uselessness. Boo-hoo. 2 years. You think being a parent stops AR-18 or you get breaks? You don't. You get no breaks. Even the times you are sleeping on the floor in the ER in your child's room because they are injured. Get over yourself. Commenter 4, you're the ass. Anyone else catching how he's trying to blame his mother for his decision to have a child? And I love how he calls abandoning his wife and child a trial break. Sorry, life doesn't work like a Netflix account. You can't just suspend it because you're a selfish adult that can't handle responsibility. Also, your lack of foresight is staggering. You thought you would still be able to travel after having a child. You thought your pretending reality doesn't exist wouldn't burn out your wife who just gave birth to the point she wants a divorce, and you thought calling your mom to do your work wouldn't upset your wife who was looking for a partner on her level, not a man-child who uses their mom to escape accountability. I hope your wife finds this post as the final nail in the coffin to divorce you, and that she gets enough child support from you to ensure she gets the actual help she needs to raise the child. The wife then makes a post about the husband's response. My husband made a post to explain himself instead of approaching me, and a user DM'd me the link. I've been hesitating because we had a great time, and I have been loving you. I didn't talk to you these days because I wanted to see if you would send your mother home and talk. I update now because, as you said in the post, I see you and want everyone, especially those who told me you might have been depressed, to see you. I can't believe you'd rather defend yourself on Reddit than talk to me face to face. If that's how it is, let's do this. Comments. Commenter 1, divorce. Don't be a single parent in a relationship. I've been there, I've done that, and now he barely sees his kids, just on the weekends. It's so much easier to truly do everything alone than to do everything alone knowing someone else is there to help, but they just won't. It's emotionally exhausting and will be a hell of a load off your shoulders. Commenter 2, just read his post. Unbelievable, he feels suffocated because he worked for 2 years, so now he wants an extended break with no responsibilities, not even household chores or picking up his child from daycare, because an entire month off wasn't enough. He's incredibly immature and isn't ready to be a husband or a father. It's a pity this didn't come to light until after you already had a child with him. At the moment, you are working and looking after 2 children. Get rid of the adult-sized one and your life will be better. Commenter 3, he's showing you who he is. It's not all about him anymore, so he is finding ways to get attention. That attention-seeking behavior will eventually tear you apart, if it hasn't already. Op. This. Exactly how I have been feeling after I saw his post. Final update. After my last post, I was in a weird state. I felt trapped in a limbo where talking to my husband seemed futile, but the thought of divorce felt like an invisible hand was squeezing my throat, making me hard to breathe. I decided to make an appointment with my psychologist, who has known my childhood and understands my background, including my adoption and family dynamics. Yes, I am adopted. Although my adoptive parents treated me very well, I generally don't like to talk about it. Before I had my child, I specifically consulted the psychologist because I was afraid that my unresolved issues might unconsciously affect my daughter. So, during our conversation, she pointed out that the child in me desperately longs for my biological parents, while the love from my adoptive parents makes me reject this idea. As a result, I am obsessed with maintaining the ideal biological family that I never had. This insight resonated deeply, making me realize why I had delayed taking decisive action for so long. After our session, I felt a strong urge to speak with an attorney about divorce. I wanted to prioritize my daughter's future over my illusory family unity. I gave the attorney all the necessary information and expressed my desire for a quick resolution. She informed me that the process could be completed in as little as a week if my husband agreed to cooperate, although it might take longer otherwise. She recommended that I discuss the matter with him to facilitate the process. So I have been planning in my mind to choose a day to confront him. During this period of hesitation, I came home one day to find that my mother-in-law had left. My husband had prepared dinner and apologized for his behavior. He admitted to being childish and expressed deep regret for his actions, acknowledging the negative feedback he received on Reddit. Realizing that so many people found his behavior unacceptable, he understood that he had been in the wrong. I reiterated that divorce might be the best option as I couldn't see a way forward together. In response, he handed me a letter taking full responsibility for the problems in our marriage and admitting his mistakes. He asked for one final chance to prove himself as a good husband and father, promising that if he failed, I could use the letter to proceed with the divorce at any time. After much hesitation, I agreed to give him this last chance and informed my attorney to hold off on the divorce proceedings for now. Although my attorney mentioned that the letter had no legal standing, she assured me she could handle the situation with or without it. For now, I'm cautiously optimistic, willing to see if my husband's efforts will lead to genuine change. If things don't improve, I'm prepared to take further steps to ensure my daughter grows up in a healthy and loving environment. I believe the decision is in my hands, and I am now determined to do what's best for my family. I want to thank everyone for their comments. They helped me see many options. I especially appreciate those who shared their life experiences, providing me with the strength to take action. By the way, I'm back to my bag business. If anyone has any issues or needs help with identification, feel free to DM me. I'll do my best to help, as I feel I owe Reddit for this. I hope this will be my last update. Comments. Commenter 1. Well, at least he seems to see that he was an with the help of a few thousand internet strangers. Perhaps he would benefit from a bit of therapy. I'm happy to know that you, for now, have come to an agreement on how to proceed, and good for you that you keep the attorney ready, just in case. Good luck on your future. Op. I know, I only see how he act. Thank you. Commenter 2. Good luck, Op. One thing which won't go amiss is marriage counseling. Even if your relationship doesn't recover, this will give both of you a better understanding of each other so that you can work together to co-parent your child. Op. You're right. This works for me, but he doesn't like it. Maybe we'll do it someday. Commenter 3. Since he says he wants to be better but you can't see a way forward together, it might be a good time to consider couples counseling. They might be able to help you find out if that way forward together exists or not. Op. I can go anytime, but I don't want to force him. Maybe we'll do it when he himself wants this.